All right, so we're going to talk about a couple more ellipse applications. This is page 405. So we're going to talk about the orbit of the moon around the Earth. And it says the moon travels about the Earth in an elliptical orbit. The Earth is at a focus. So if this was going to be my elliptical orbit, this is a focus and this is a focus. And then the Earth is traveling around. The major and minor axis of the orbit have these lengths. So the major axis is going in this direction. Its total length is 768,806. And the minor axis goes this way, and its length is this number. So if I just want to find the value of A and B, I'm going to cut this number in half, right? Because half of the major axis is A. So 768,806 divided by 2. A is 384,403 and B 767,746 divided by 2 is 383,873. So this is my A and B values. So it should be easy for me to find C because A squared equals B squared plus C squared. So I'm going to take 384,403 and square it, 383,873 and square it. I'm going to subtract this number to the other side and take the square root to find C. 384,403 squared minus 383,873 squared. So that's C squared. And I'm taking the square root of that to find C. So I have 20,000. C is 20,178.9. All right, so this says the apogee and the perigee represent the furthest and closest distances from Earth's center to moon center. So if you notice, if the moon is here, it'll be the closest possible to this focal point, right? So that's called the perigee. So we want to know how far away is the moon at that point. And then when the moon is at this point in its orbit, right, it's the furthest possible away from this focus. So this is called the apogee. So they want to know what is the perigee and what is the apogee. So I want you to think of what these values are. This value right here, right from the center to the outside of the ellipse is A. And then how far is Earth from the center? Earth is at a focus. So Earth is another C units away. So to find the apogee, I'm just going to take my A value and add my C value, and that will be this distance. So what is A plus C? 384,403 plus 20,178.9. So 404.5, I'm just going to round to 582 instead of 581.9. All right, so now I need to figure out what this distance is right here. Well, again, this distance is A, right? Center to outside of ellipse. So I just need to subtract off this C distance, and I'll have this distance, right, from the Earth to the edge of the ellipse. So A minus C is going to be the shortest distance. So 384,403 minus 20178.9. 364,224 about. 364,224. I also want you to notice what the eccentricity would be for this orbit. Let me just do 20178.9. That's my C value. If I divide that by my A value, 384,403, I have an eccentricity of 0.05. So I have a very circular orbit of the moon around the Earth. This looks a lot more elongated and exaggerated than it actually is. All right, last question for some applications. The band wants to form a perfect ellipse on the football field next game. They will use a rope, and two people will hold the rope. Remember, I showed you how to form an ellipse. So they'll hold the rope at each focus, and then the string will help them form the perfect ellipse. The football field is 300 feet long and 160 feet wide. So that's basically my major and my minor axis. The band wants to make as large of an ellipse as possible. How long should the rope be? So does anyone remember what we proved the length of the rope was? So I gave you a little demonstration and I said, if you were at this focus and you wanted to reach this point over here with your rope, I'm just going to put the ropes going on different sides. So this plus this has to reach this point. So remember, I just took this little chunk and I said, if we inserted it right here, we would have a string that is the same length as the major axis. So 300 feet, right? The string needs to be 300 feet long. Where should the two foci be? Well, my A value is half of the major axis, and my B value is half of the minor axis. So if I know A and B, you should be able to find C. A squared equals B squared plus C squared. So A squared is 150 squared, B squared is 80 squared. So you should be able to calculate that yourself. Maybe you want to pause the video and see if you can find the C value yourself. Did you get it? Your C value is 126.9. So from the center of the field, they should stand 126.9 feet away from the center in either direction, going on the major axis of the field.